All kinds of new technology. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with another podcast for you. Money Moves is actually changing its name to Prosper in the Kingdom. You've heard us talk about this in the past, so we're actually going to change it to Prosper in the Kingdom podcast. And again, it's all about helping you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. So we're going to add in some additional topics and whatnot, and bring in some guest speakers and stuff. So I'm excited. I think Wendy is too. How are you doing today, Wendy?
I'm doing great and I'm excited. I think it's good. It's a good
Nice.
shift. Opens up more subjects to talk about. And I love the perspective of coming from, kingdom perspective, word of God.
Yeah, it's biblically based. I think I mentioned in the last video that the podcast, or excuse me, the Bible talks about more about money than it does love.
Mhm.
And a lot of people don't realize that, and they have some misinformation or bad perspectives on
Misconception.
what it all means and how it ties to you. And obviously, being healthy, the body is your temple. Being healthy is a big part of that too. So we're going to bring in some experts and things like that to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. So that's what it's all about. So let's get started today. We've got an exciting topic about for you. This actually came from one of our viewers. They reached out to us and they wanted to know, obviously, the election is happening, right? It's right around the corner, literally right around the corner. So if you look at what's causing inflation, one side's going to say it's greed, it's the companies just milking you for every dime. And then the other side saying, no, 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 it's actually some factual stuff. So maybe it's a little bit of both. So we're going to talk about that. I don't know if you've got anything to add before we jump in. I mean, what do you think about inflation, Wendy? I think you're a big fan, right?
I love inflation. No, I love talking about it though, because I never really understood it until a few years ago. I just thought it was as time goes on, things get more expensive. Like I don't know. I never really had a reason that I tied to it or an understanding of it. And so, yeah, what causes prices to increase? What causes prices to go up? It just doesn't happen for no reason, like I guess I assumed.
Exactly. Well, I mean, there's several different reasons why cost goes up, prices go up, excuse me. And part of what you just said, things cost more to make. Well, the question should be, why do
Why?
they cost more to make? Because the
Mhm.
more I do something, the more efficient I become, right? And so that's where the whole, well, it's just companies being greedy, right? And I wouldn't say greed is the right word. I'm a capitalist, right? You're a capitalist. I mean, you start a business to make money.
Mhm.
I mean, if you're an independent contractor out there, or you've got a small business, say you're painting or mowing yards or something like that, your costs are going to go up because you need to make a certain margin,
Right.
right, to be successful, to make it all worthwhile for you. So as costs go up, they're not just going to eat those costs. They're going to
Yeah.
pass it on to who? You and I, the consumer,
Right.
right? So it's not that the companies are being greedy, it's that the companies are trying to become, just as profitable. And most large companies, they are subject to who? Beholden to the
Taxes.
stockholder, right?
Oh, the
And so,
stockholder.
yeah, in order for their stock to go up, they've got to be more and more profitable, which is where, efficiencies come in, layoffs, technology, AI, automation through robotics, things like that, offshoring, outsourcing, those kind of things start to play into it. Well, you start looking at all these cards, other things happen. One of the big things that happen, I don't know if you've been to a fast food restaurant recently.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, well, that this is not part of the healthy part, folks. So just keep that in mind. But you look at that. I mean, I don't know. You bought your lunch, I'm assuming, or did you go there for
So
dinner? Was it a
I took my kids to the good fast food restaurant. the
Is there such a thing? Oh,
the one that
go
serves a
ahead.
lot of
Don't name the
chicken.
name. I don't want to get in trouble or anything. But
So
okay. What do they have? Burgers,
they have chicken.
tacos, chicken.
They have
Okay.
chicken. And so
So
we went the other day and we ordered, and my son, who's 13, looked at me and went, "It's that much just for the three of us?" It was me, Sloan, and Rig. And I was like, "Yep." So it was over $30 for 3 of us. Like, it's an average of $10 a meal. Like, I'm not kidding you. A year ago at the same place for an extra kid, because I had another kid in the house at the time, it was like $26 for 4 of us, and now $30, $32 for 3 of us. It's crazy how much prices are going up there. But
well, and that's part of it. I mean, and there was a restaurant, I used to go to, and I still stop in occasionally because I love their little cheeseburgers. Right. And if you've seen the movie Coming to America, they were a competitor of McDougal's. And so for you movie buffs out there, there you go. There's your little Easter egg. But they used to have a combo with 2 of their little cheeseburgers and small fry and things like that. And it was $5.
yeah.
And I'm like, that's a good deal, right? And so every once in a while I would stop it. That same meal now is going to cost you twice that. And the reason is, okay, why? Is it the food so much better, or what's going on? Better ingredients? No, not at all. What's going on is the cost of goods are going up primarily around the $15 an hour minimum wage that you kept hearing about. The companies aren't just going to eat that cost. They're going to pass it on to you and I, right? The cost of materials gone up. COVID, that impacted a lot of things, especially the just-in-time inventory, the distribution chains, right? We've got a strike going on right now, which, I don't know where that stands because I haven't heard anything in the news, but all of the ports along the East Coast, all of them were shut down. So what does that mean? That means all of the goods coming into the country from that side of the country are not getting from point A to point B, which is limited resources, things like that. So the cost of things do go up. People's wages go up because the cost of living goes up. So you got to match what they're making and, give them raises and whatnot. So all of those costs are passed on because the companies want to keep their margins in place. It's not like all of a sudden all their, they get to keep all that profit. No, it's going into all the other things. So the things that our government does through legislation, and I'm not saying, it's right or wrong. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just looking at the mechanics of it. That trickles down to who? You and I, the people buying this stuff. Going back to my, description earlier about the, if you're mowing yards or whatever. Well, if you were only paying $1.50 a gallon or $2 a gallon for gas, you can charge a lower price. Now gas is, in some areas almost $4. And so the cost of fuel has gone up. So you've got to pass that on to who? Onto the consumer. And so that's a big part of it. But that's not the biggest reason inflation goes up. That's part of it, but it's not the biggest reason inflation goes up. And this is where I want people to really kind of tune in. And there's a book that talks about this. I've read it. I know you've read it. I recommended it to you a couple of years ago, and it's called Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. And we'll put a link to it through Amazon down on the, you can get it on eBay or whatever. It's been out for quite a while, but it's a great explanation on why prices go up. What's going on. It talks about the history of money, fiat money versus real money. And there is a difference, right? But you look at, there's a twofold effect of putting more money into the system. We hear that, oh yeah, the government keeps printing money and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, why? Why does the money print? Or why do they keep printing money? Well, they want to keep the inflation or the economy hot, right? So the more money, all of a sudden, if I've got $100 and I'm like, ooh, it's going to be a little tight. I don't want to go out and spend stuff. Well, if all of a sudden I get some kind of an influx, like, they were doing the COVID bonus money or whatever you want to call it. They were handing out cash left and right. Why? They want you to go and spend it, right? Bush did the same thing where he sent out, I think it was like $600 or $1,200 per family or whatever the case may be. Why? Because he wants you to go out and spend it because that stimulates the economy and that keeps us, kind of the engines moving along. But the problem with that, when you have more money to spend from, your increase in income, which people don't save that. What do? They increase their lifestyle, right? Or you get stimulus checks. They want to buy more stuff. And because there aren't enough stuffs to go around, what happens? Well, people want more stuff. It's the same thing, like the candy. If there isn't enough, the store knows that they can raise prices and you're still going to pay it.
Right.
Okay.
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand. Exactly. And so that's where the part, it's just the store is being greedy and price gouging and stuff. Well, yes and no. I mean, because if if all of a sudden I keep selling out of an item, that probably means I'm not charging enough for it,
Right.
right? And that's where you get into government stepping in and doing price fixing and stuff. And our government's done that in the past. And during emergencies and things, when people all of a sudden, are charging outrageous amounts for a bottle of water. Yeah, that's illegal. That's price gouging, right? And those people should get punished. But if it's just normal capitalism, when you look at, okay, do I need to increase my supply? Well, if it's a temporary thing, then I'm going to be stuck with a bunch. And you see that every Christmas, right? When you go into, or any holiday, when you go into a Walmart or something like that, and all of a sudden the stuff that cost $10 yesterday is 75% off the next day because the holiday's over. They've got too much supply and they don't want to store it, right? But think of that in reverse. Okay, if you've got this extra money, because so much money's been put into the economy, people are spending it, and people are buying stuff that they maybe wouldn't have bought. And so now the supply is still at the same, where all of a sudden the demand has gone up. So that's a big part of it too. I don't know if you've ever experienced that or.
Well, yeah, yes. But one of the things that just popped in my head, because was Halloween, right? How expensive a bag of candy is before Halloween. And then as soon as it's over, man, stock up for next year.
I know, right? That's what I do. Throw it in the freezer. They're not my kids. The candy's still good, right? If it's a little crunchy or stale, like I said, it was free, kid. What do you expect? No, I'm kidding. So that's part of it. But the other dangerous part, and this is really where it gets dark, right? This is really where it gets conspiracy theory. And you look at, say there are 10 of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have $1,000 among the 10 of us. So we divide that equally. Okay, so each of us gets what? We get $100.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of us, I'll be the bad guy, right? So I'm going to go out and say, hey, you know what? I need more money. I got things to do. I got things I want to pay. Because I'm a cool guy, have the ability. I've got a little printer in my back office. I can go and print more money. I can go make some more money. So I take my $100 bill and copy it, and and print some more. And because I'm kind of the guy in charge of our little 10 group family here, I tell you guys, you can't do that. Wendy, you can't do that. Only I can do that. Okay. So now I have 1,000 because I went out and printed 9 more, right? So I have 1,000 and you each have $100. What does that do to the value of your money?
Makes my money less valuable.
Makes it less valuable. Why? Because there's more money in the system trying to buy the same things. So now prices have gone up, not because it costs more to produce, but because there's more money in the system. That's kind of taking that, people want more stuff because they've got more money. Well, now there's more money in the system. And because I didn't necessarily give it all to you, like in the stimulus stuff, I've created this whole thing where I'm using it to pay my debts and stuff like that to whoever, right? China, whoever, which is causing the worldwide supply to go down in value, even though it still says $1 or $100 on the paper. Okay. And it's like Kool-Aid, right? Somebody used that analogy one time and I thought it was great. So, as kids, summertime, Kool-Aid, you had a big pitcher of Kool-Aid. Well, we drank half of it. Okay. We drank half. Oh man, we got more people coming. Just go put some more water in the jug and we'll have a full thing again. So you go and put water in it. What does that other half of the Kool-Aid do?
Diluted. It tastes like crap.
Yeah. It's not as potent as it was before. Money is the exact same thing. Right. And that's what happens. And now all of a sudden I need more of it to buy the same amount of stuff as 10 years ago. Right. I was looking at comparison. I remember my very first real job. Okay. My very first job, I had a base salary of $36,000. Okay. And it was a sales job and, it was fun. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was fresh out of college. And I know there's some Gen Zs going 36 grand, man. Oh my gosh, that would stink. Well, that was my very first job. And so I looked at, okay, what would that be worth? And this was 94. What would that be worth in 2024? So here we are 30 short years later. Okay. And I know some of you people that are 30 going, man, that's a long time. No, it goes by quick. Trust me. So that $36,000 is worth 75,000 in today's
Mhm.
dollars.
Yeah.
So, here I was fresh out of college making 75 grand in today's dollars, which was like,
Mhm.
okay, that's pretty respectable, right?
Mhm.
So you look at that and it's like, and I used to get, you hear all these people saying, oh, I want this, person making, $100,000 and blah, blah, blah. Right. I've got some other channels I participate in, and, that's one of the things. I'm 6 foot tall, six-figure income, da, 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 da. Well, at first I'm like, okay, well, that's not really cool. But then you start looking at it, I'm like, wow, that's like 50 grand back in the day. And because we're living it every day, we don't see how it
Right.
deteriorates through inflation. And it's like, okay, that's not, I still don't think that's the right way to look at people. But it's one of those things that the inflation eats away our dollar. And because the government, listen to this, people, put your tinfoil hats on, your aluminum foil, because the government is the only one that's allowed to print the money and you and I can't. What they're doing is taking money out of our pockets and
Yep.
putting it into their own. Okay. And they use that money to do whatever they want. But because you and I can't print money, and I'm not saying go print money, I don't want the Secret Service knocking at my door tomorrow. But that's the reason it's called the shadow tax. Okay. There's
Mhm.
two ways the government taxes. One, we all see, and that's when
Right.
everybody gets upset, right?
Yep.
Oh, they're raising income taxes or whatever. Taxes are not the big deal, folks. It's all about, number one, they need to get the budget in line, right? And it's both sides. Number two, they need to stop printing all this money, and it's both sides. Bush did it, Obama did it. I mean, they all have done it.
Yep.
They call it quantitative easing now,
Mhm.
okay, which is a really
So
sexy
it sounds
word.
like real pretty, like real cool, like,
Yeah.
oh, the government is
Quantitative
quantitative
easing, that's an
easing.
economic term that you don't really understand. Yeah, I do understand, Joe. I do understand, George. It's called printing money that, you're just gonna go out and spend on
Right.
your own little pet projects. That's the problem.
Yep.
And so what happens is it dilutes your money, my money, and everybody else's money. So our money is worthless, right? And we have to make more of it in order to get by. And we see it reflected in prices, because this is happening to businesses too. Businesses can't print money.
Right.
So they've got to pay more now to get people to work. I mean, you go to restaurants and stuff like that. I mean, look at the automation that's happening at at some restaurants with the kiosks, right?
Mhm.
You go to other places, oh yeah, we're understaffed because they've got to pay so much more. So they can make a decision. They either pay more, right? Or go out of business. And a lot of them are opting to just go out of business. And then everybody loses jobs, and then
Right.
everybody's complaining about it. Okay. And then
Right.
everybody needs government help, and then they vote the way they're supposed to,
Right.
right? Not.
Yeah.
Make your own money, folks. I'm going on a rant here. Make your own money. There's a lot of ways to do it, right? Positive legal ways to do it. And you can become independent. That's why it's so important, get a budget, get out of debt, don't be beholden. You can make your own
Right.
freedom decisions. So there you go.
Absolutely.
Wow, that was a lot. Anything to add
Absolutely.
on that?
That's
We kind of went a little longer.
well, no, you're good. I mean, we've taken our time. You've given a lot of good information. And yeah, I just think, for me, prices going up, the biggest thing is realizing it's like the government has a lot to do with it. They can
A
control
lot.
a
They
lot
have the
of it.
majority to do with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
not
so
it's not because of companies being
corporate
greedy.
greed,
It's
right?
the government stepping in, regulation, stuff like that,
Yeah.
local governments, costs going up and things like that. The companies want to keep their margin, which,
Hmm.
let's be honest, like I said, you would too.
Hmm.
If you're making 25% profit, you want to keep that 25% profit because that's what you're going to use to live
Right.
on, right?
Right.
But when the costs go up, that passes on. But the real person or group of people that are challenging us is the government printing money.
That's
So
right.
there you go, folks. There it is. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you're listening to this, give us a thumbs up or give us a rant. If you're like, oh no, it's greedy companies,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what you
I'd love
told me.
to
That's what I'm
hear
ranting
from
about.
people like where the pricing increases hurt the most, where you see it impacting you the most. I would love to hear
Yeah,
from
there you
people.
go. There you go. So yeah, give us a comment. I'll also we'll put a link to that book that we were talking about, Whatever Happened to Penny Candy. Great read. That's a good one to share with your kids too, because it's
Mhm.
a real simple read too. And there's a whole book, a series of books by Uncle Eric that they call it the Uncle Eric series, right? And that's just one of the books in there. So read all of those. You'd big eye opener. Educate yourself. But we're going to let you go, folks. That was a longer rant today, but hopefully you got a lot of it. Again, we're shifting up our name to Prosper in the Kingdom because we want to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise when it comes to your life and your money, and help you level up everything in your life and become free, not only financially, but health-wise and everything else. So good day, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.